witness of an accident, or you've probably been a victim. Ulikuwa kwa gari and something happened, an accident happened along the road, and that car probably veered off the road, or you're probably just passing, alafu gari ama pikipiki ikakuja ikakugonga. But then, did you actually understand what it entails when it comes to incident management? And courtesy of St. John Ambulance. Kutusaidia for this conversation, Leila Nabwira, karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Once again, we meet the whole conversations that we ever had, bado nazitumia.
Sure.
Oh, yes.
That's a good thing.
And back at home, or wherever you're watching us from, you can be part of this conversation, 0795 045 864. Uliza Leila all those questions that you have. Kama ni feedback, maybe ulijaribu kitu fulani and you realize, by the way, this actually works. But when we talk about incident management and accident, what do you understand from that, even that word, an accident?
Well, with the mention of the word an accident, number one, it's not wanted. It's not planned. In Kiswahili tunasema ajali haina kinga, sindio? So most people believe accidents are inevitable.
Oh, yes.
All right, and sometimes they are overwhelming. They are also shrouded with very nasty scenes, with a broken bone and bleeding and all those kinds of things.
Oh, yes.
So basically speaking, that is an image of an accident. And in an accident also, we also have things like, we could also have some other dangers like electricity, power lines, oncoming traffic. We may also be having rowdy people on the scene. You've seen situations where a motorist has been, or let's say a boda rider has been hit, and then it just goes out of control. And that is all the hula baloos that surround accidents.
Oh, yes. And now that you've rightfully put us for that, mtu anaweza kuwa nashangaa ni nini inaendelea hapa chini. So this is our makeshift kind of accident. Leila, you'll be telling us what happened in this accident. Kiatu yake moja ilirushwa huko. Sijui kama alitrip akaanguka, lakini anakaa relax, so sijui kama ako sawa. Yes.
Very nice.
Oh, yes. But then now, first off, so because let's say I was walking along, let's say Thika Road, and I found this accident here, what's the first thing that should be in my mind?
Now, that's a very important question, because that is one of the areas that we have failed as lay people trying to assist people on the road. Now, one of the first important things that you need to do in every accident scene you ever find yourself in, number one, is assess the situation first.
Right.
It's important to assess, so that number one, in assessment, you are able to understand what happened in that scenario. If you understand what has happened, then you are able to figure out what are some of the dangers present, because in the process of going to assist somebody, you might also put yourself in line of danger.
Okay.
So when you assess, you're able to identify dangers present. You're also able to prioritize how are you going to assist the person. Because you see, if we come in a scene, for example, it's a road traffic accident, we still have oncoming vehicles. Probably we have it's a head-on collision, so there's probability of one of the vehicles igniting into a fire, and maybe the crowd is coming in. So you see, if you are there as a first aider, or if you're there and you need to help, first stand at a safe distance, assess the situation. What is happening there? What is currently happening? And if I don't act quickly, what will happen? And then other than that also, I've said you'll be able to prioritize how you're going to respond when you assess the situation. So the very first and basic step you need to take for any person responding to any situation, you have to stop, first assess the situation before you take any action.
As a trained trainer, as a trainer yourself, how long do you take to assess? Mafika, this is Thika Road, things are looking, hectic, and all that. Things are it's a whole mayhem. How long do you take to assess and actually now help her?
Now, I would advise that assessment should take the shortest time possible, especially in road traffic accidents, because lives, we say in first aid, we say time is equals to tissue. Every second you waste, a tissue is dying. So the faster you assess, the better.
The reason I'm asking that is because as a trainer, you'd have that mentality. You've been trained for different times. As for me, I don't know about assessing. I just see her, I'd see probably there's blood probably oozing from maybe her ears or somewhere. Maybe kuna, let's say, ilikuwa gari, and there's probably a glass that has pierced maybe one of her thighs. That would probably be whatever I'm thinking.
Yes.
And I'm panicking at that time.
Yes.
Na nitataka nimsaidie. Maybe hata ni mtu najua, pole sana, nitaka kutoa. Is that even correct?
Yes, the fact that you're able to look at the casualty, you've seen blood is oozing, you can see glasses, that is already assessment.
Okay.
But now, there are different levels of assessment that I would really recommend. Instead, okay, casualties are part and parcel in the incident scene. Besides the casualties, we also have other dangers in the scene. So before you quickly rush to the casualty, first be safe. Then the next thing, are those people around you also safe? Because there is no intention, there is no need of you rushing to go help, at the end of the day, end up being a casualty. So I'll insist still, the first step is assess. Assess, when you're assessing, you are assessing all the aspects. That is the bystanders, the crowd, you're assessing the oncoming vehicles, you're assessing the power lines, you're looking at every aspect, including the casualties. How many are they? What could be the kind of injury they have assessed, they could have sustained. And thereafter, you are able now, the next step is now make your area safe.
Okay.
Ensure now your safety.
So at this point, because nimefika and probably I'll call her Grace.
Yes.
So Grace ako hapo, amelala and everything. First of all, what is Grace thinking at this time? Ako pale, there's a piece of glass that has stabbed her. There's probably blood oozing. What is she thinking?
A lot could be going on, depending with how she has sustained her injury. It could be she's unconscious. If she's unconscious, her mind is blank.
Okay.
If she's conscious, she could be feeling pain. She could be, sometimes, the feeling of death could be looming, Imagine, being involved in a traffic accident and you don't know how bad you've been injured. And the first thing that comes into your mind is, I could be dying, all right? And there's pain and there is blood coming out. Some of them are just feeling giddy and nauseatic and, they can't even, others are even disoriented with the environment. So it depends with how they have sustained the injury. The injury will determine how they're feeling. Others will just be blank because of unconsciousness, others giddy, nauseatic, others will be disoriented, not even aware of where they are or what has happened to them. Others will be in pain and others will be just, afraid or in shock.
Is there a standard operating procedure on, I've come to this accident, nimempata hapa, in every single kind of accident, and it's a road accident, whichever, either minor or major, is there always, now after assessing, is there a standard operating procedure? Yes,
there is. And I will simply denote it as AMEGA. AMEGA is AMEGA. So the first step, as I said, is assess the situation.
Okay.
The next step is now ensure scene safety. In scene safety, it depends. If you have responded to a scene and you are a motorist, you're driving, one of the first things, you will park at a safe distance, then put your hazard lights on. Then cautiously approach the scene. If there are bystanders there, use them to help you ensure scene safety. In scene safety, where we have vehicles collided, for instance, the batteries are still running, the engine is still running. If it is safe to do so, try to turn them down, to turn them off or switch them off. This is to prevent ignition or fire starting up. There are others that could have been rolling and they just stopped. But in the process of rolling, it may not have gained stability. So ensuring vehicle stability, like choking tires for those ones that are still standing, while those ones that were on a rolling or probably on the back, it's important to also ensure the stability of the vehicle. Smokers on the scene should be kept off completely. I'll make sure that nobody who is smoking should be around an accident area where there's a collision of vehicles.
So you do all this before now we get to Grace?
Before we get to the casualty. Scene safety is important. Because you see, you rush to the casualty and you might end up putting yourself in danger. And that is one of the greatest mistakes people do. I have seen situations where we have had a road traffic accident involving a matatu and a boda, people rushing in, and then it is a busy traffic road. And then in the process of rushing in, another boda or another matatu comes and ramages into them, you see. So this makes the situation even worse. So scene safety is important. Another way is within those people, you can take two within a distance of 50 meters from each side of the incident. Let them be controlling the traffic. This is to ensure safety. If we have other motorists who are willing to help, they can use their own vehicles. One parks 50 meters from the scene, redirecting this traffic somewhere else. And this ensures safety. So this is the second step, basically speaking, of ensuring safety. Once the scene is safe, the third step is now go to the casualty and now give emergency aid. That is now the E of our mega. Now, when you go to the casualty to give emergency aid, there is a lot of factors that you need to consider, especially an incident where you have several casualties. Now, the priority in where we have incidents where we have several casualties, look at those injuries that are life-threatening. Those are the first people you're going to attend to. So do not prioritize just because somebody is crying or walking. No, look at injuries that are life-threatening. Example of injuries that are life-threatening are things like amputation. somebody's arm has been cut off, or the leg, or they're having massive or severe bleeding, that kind of a bleeding where the blood is shooting, that is arterial bleeding, it's dangerous. Where we have too much blood flow, where we have fractures, severe burns, those are injuries that are immediately threatening to life.
So now we're in the third one, the emergency.
Yes.
And we've said so to make clear the set, so our set is clear,
yes.
Make sure 50-50, everything. So nilikuwa nimetoka from my very nice Mercedes Benz, nikapata Grace amepata ajali, let's amegongwa na pikipiki hapo. And probably pale there's a whole chaos. But now I want to give her first aid. I don't have anything. As I am. How do I give her first aid? She's probably there's blood oozing from her ears, maybe there are a few pieces of glass, maybe ama let's say unaona mguu kidogo inakaa hivi, let's say
imevunjika,
tuseme for example inakaa hivyo twisted kidogo. Yes. So what now happens
now when
bila any first aid?
Yes. The first thing that you need to do every time you find a casualty in a road traffic accident, number one, I'll tell you, do not be misled by what you see. Fractures, bleeding, yes, they're immediately threatening to life, but there's something more. There's something called the ABCs of life: airway, breathing, and circulation. There is no need of you rushing to a broken leg when this person is not breathing. It is useless. By the time you finish, she'll be long dead. See, your brain cannot survive without oxygen for more than 4 minutes. 4 to 6 minutes, your brain starts, without oxygen, starts to damage. So basically speaking, the first thing and your first priority is basically her airway is open, she's breathing and having a circulation.
So that's the first place.
That is the first place you go.
So
thereafter, if the airway is okay, breathing is okay, and circulation is okay, then now we can go to the fracture. Now we can go to the bleeding.
So that's now you can
check
show us
for the airway.
Yes, for the airway.
Always as important, as you said, it's always important to put on your gloves whenever you're handling any casualty, no matter the situation, no matter the circumstance.
So if you don't have this.
Now, if you don't have gloves, you can always improvise. If you have polythene bag or a plastic bag with you, you can use it. If it is not there, well, I will tell you, do not refuse to give aid in fear of getting infectious diseases. They're still there. But what I'll advise you, soon as you finish giving a first aid, wash your hands with water and soap or a sanitizer. And within 72 hours, make sure you visited a public hospital facility so that you can get examined and provided any infection control medication for your safety. Yes.
So you can proceed and demonstrate for us.
So I'm here,
step.
A road accident has happened, I've assessed the situation, I've ensured that the scene is clear and is safe for me and for all that are others. Then I approach the casualty. Now I'm going to give emergency aid. The first thing is I'm going to check if Grace is responsive. If she's responsive, it's going to even make the medication even more simpler, because I'm going to ask her where she's feeling the pain and etc. So how do I check for response? Hey Grace, can you hear me? If you can hear me, please open your eyes. Grace, if you can feel me, please open your eyes. She's not responding, therefore she's unconscious. So I have to find most of the information myself. The next thing when I'm going to now check is to ensure that she's having an open airway and she's breathing and she has a circulation. So naturally, when a casualty is unconscious, what we call this, something called a muscle tone. Your muscle relaxes. One of the muscles that relaxes is the tongue. The tongue goes back and it blocks the airway, making it difficult for the casualty to breathe. So basically speaking, that is where airway, breathing, and circulation comes in handy. There are high chances that she's not breathing properly. So how do you open the airway? You put the palm on the forehead, 2 fingers under the chin, and tilt the head like that, and lift the chin. So basically speaking, this is how you open the airway. The next thing, I'm going to check if Grace is breathing for 10 seconds. So I'm going to place my hands over the nose to feel the breathing, as well as look at the stomach, if it's rising and falling for 10 seconds. Well, I can confirm that she's breathing. The next thing, I'm going to check if she's having a circulation. So I'm going to use her carotid pulse right here to find if she's breathing. So I'm looking for the palpitations. If I can feel them for 10 seconds, then it means her circulation is okay. So
Leila, how, in your assessment, how long has Grace been lying here?
Well, it depends. If I was on scene when the accident was happening, then it was immediately. And sometimes it's a hit and run situation. You have heard about them. So that one depends. It could be 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. you know.
Okay, I think my question, to rephrase it, would be, if you found Grace unconscious, your assessment, then you arrived there.
Yes.
How long will she have been lying there so that a point that she's actually unconscious?
Well, let me approach this question this way. Unconsciousness also differs with the nature of injury.
Okay.
Like, for example, a blow to the head. If they got a direct impact on the head, there's likelihood of them being unconscious immediately. While we have people like, say, asthmatic casualties, or others that have just bled. Right. So probably if they have bled for a longer duration of time without receiving any help, they will slowly become unconscious. It will take a while for them to become unconscious. I don't know if that answers your question.
It definitely does. And even speaking of questions, before we proceed, because we've taken a look at how she'd probably breathe and all that, we can have now the number there. Back at home, wherever you're watching us from, if you're watching us mobile on our YouTube page, 0795-045-864 is the number to call in live. Send in all those questions, or if you probably have any feedback to ask Leila, she'll be answering them for you. So we've established that she's unconscious.
Yes.
So now, will your next focus be probably the thighs, or what will happen?
Very good. Now, since the ABCs are okay, then I can relax. Now come where? To where the fracture is.
So if she's if she's still unconscious, do you still focus on that, or because you can see on her leg there is a fracture, there's blood oozing, do you focus on her unconsciousness, or? Now,
once you have established that your casualty is breathing, airway and circulation are okay, whether they are unconscious or not, you're good to go. Now we can focus on the injury.
All right.
Yes, now this is another life-threatening situation. So the ABCs are okay, now let's focus on another life-threatening condition again.
So if she's not, if the airway is not okay?
If the airway is not open, we open it. We check if she's breathing. If she's not breathing, we go to something else. We have to do a cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR. So I won't focus on the leg for now. We need to restart the heart. Now that's why we start compressing the chest until she comes back, and then we continue. If there is somebody on scene, you could be doing there while somebody else is handling the fracture.
Right.
Yes, but if you're alone, prioritize the heart.
So let's go over now to the fracture before I now bring in a whole other hypothetical.
It's okay. Now, when you come to the fracture of the leg, number one, it's important also, again, you carry a specific assessment on this leg. See, when there's a fracture here, there could be also a dislocation at the pelvic area. So the first thing is I will quickly examine this leg, just to be sure that there are not any other injuries sustained somewhere. Because as I concentrate here, I can cause further damage where we have another injury. So here we do what we call a systematic secondary survey, a quick assessment to check if the casualty might have been injured somewhere else. So as I'm checking, you can notice I'm checking my hands. Why? She's putting on cloth. There could be bleeding inside that I'll be able to see. All right. Another thing, I'll apply some slight pressure. This is just to feel if there is any breakages inside, if I can feel some form of distension or something like the sort. I'm also checking her face as I do that. Probably I can slightly apply pressure here, and I can see her face changing. That means she's reacting to pain. Then there is an injury again. So that is how you check. Gently, checking. I'm also going to feel her toes. Something called a cup refill. I'm going to press the toe and see how fast does it refill. If it takes longer, it means blood is not moving properly to this side. Then also, I will check a pulse. There's a pulse somewhere here. It's called dorsalis pedis. I use it to check the condition of the pulse. Now, once that is okay, the next thing is this fracture open or closed? We have two types of fractures. Open fractures and closed fractures. Open fractures, the bone is protruding outside the skin. You can see it. Closed fracture, the bone is inside. It's not outside the skin. Now, most of the fractures, whether closed or open, you handle the same way. But I'll start with the open one. So the open one, you make a simple thing called a donut ring. So
and before now we get into all that, the nice looking apparatus that you have.
Yes.
I came on this road But then now before I get that, I'm being told that tuende Kawangware. Mio, habari asubuhi?
Mzuri sana.
Watu wa Kawangware mnaendeleaje?
Menyesha sana.
Pole sana. Na sasa unaona venye kunanyesha, sijui kama kuna maswali au maoni.
Swali moja tu. Kama mimi I was knocked with the motorbike nikienda kasi.
Lini hiyo?
Na niligongwa na motorbike nikienda kasi.
Ilikuwa lini?
Na 2020.
Okay.
So immediately vile nilianguka hivi, kumbe nilikuwa nimefunjika right hand completely. So wale walinisaidia, walinitoka tu kwa immediately na kunichukua na kuanza kukimbia na mimi mguu. Yaani hiyo mguu haikuwekwa hata kwa nilikuwa nakimbia na mguu inaning'inia hivi. Inaweza kuwa tena iliniongeza madhara mengine kulingana na mwalimu vifutia hapo. Sababu walinichukua tu pasipo hata hiyo mguu vile wanaweza kurealize wakafunge isiwe inaning'inia. Inaweza kuwa iliongeza another fracture, yani fracture kubwa. Yeah, that's my question.
Asante sana. Mio salimia watu wa Kawangware wameendelea kututazama. Hiyo swali itakuwa najibiwa saa tuna Leila.
Okay.
A very nice question.
A very good question. A very good question. Yes. Kunaweza kuwa na high possibilities wakati alikuwa anasongezwa hivyo venye amesema, further injuries could have been sustained. And that is why we are here. Because most of the situations, or most of the times, wakati tunakimbia kwenda kuwa rescue, in the process ya kuwasaidia, we cause further injuries. Number one, any casualty or anybody that is involved in a traffic accident always assume they have a spinal injury. Ukimbeba tu ovyo, you might cause further damage. Number two, wakati unabeba mgonjwa yote ambaye ameumia kwa ajali, always try to move the whole body as a unit. Sijika tunaelewana. Ukisongeza mgonjwa, unatakana ubebe mwili yote mzima pamoja as a unit. Kitu kama fracture.
Naambia na director Kevo tuone for example ya hiyo scenario ya kubeba mtu. So I think now I'll have to be your co-assistant. Do I need gloves for this?
It depends. Number one, carrying, you just don't carry a casualty anyhow. There are a lot of factors that you need to consider. If our casualty has a spinal injury, we need to look for a flat, firm surface, a spine board, a backboard. That is the only thing that can help us carry this casualty.
So, things have happened. We were on Thika Road, mahali pale Kasarani, akagonga na pikipiki. You don't have anything like that there.
We can improvise. Mbao, unaweza pata mbao kubwa mzuri flat. Tubebe nayo. Mlango, unaweza fanya hiyo kazi mzuri. Something that is, as long as it's flat
and it's firm.
It is important that you do that. Alafu number two, kumbuka, moving should only be done if it is necessary to do so. If it is not necessary, do not move the casualty. Actually, movement may cause further injuries. You'd rather leave the casualty as they are, call for help, let the ambulance come and handle. Only move your casualty if it is necessary to do so.
So you mean even the fact that akona blanketi hapo, hata kubeba na blanketi ni makosa?
Tutabeba na hiyo blanketi if we really need to have to carry her with that blanket. But hata hii blanketi vinge tutabeba, kuna vinge inafaa kubeba. Kama blanket carry itatutaji at least watu 4. Ndio tubebe na blanketi. Sijika tumeelewana. So the nature of the injury will determine how you carry the casualty. And the need also will determine the necessity of the moving of the casualty. So unapata kuna injuries hatuwezi beba na blanketi. But kuna injuries unapata kama mgonjwa akiwa unconscious, ukiwa peke yake pia weight is a matter that you need to consider. Sijika tumeelewana. Yes. That is a fact.
Jutuko wawili, wacha nitafute watu wengine wawili hapa Thika Road yetu.
Tutapata mtu.
Tupate watu wawili watusaidie kukimbiza hospitali.
Ni sawa.
So now, because you told us, and we're in the process of telling us and assessing these whole fractures, and you're telling us the different types of fractures where the bone has protruded, na ile ingine like bado tuiko ndani. So now I want to bring in a whole hypothetical of, let's say it's a bus, and for example, a huge material has fallen on top of her leg. You know, what happens? But then hold on that. Francis Kasarani, habari asubuhi. Francis, kutoka Kasarani, habari asubuhi.
Mzuri sana.
Wewe ni wale mnatumia Thika Road kabisa, si ndio?
Hapana, mimi niko upande wa Kangundo Road, sio Thika Road.
Kangundo Road. Huko pia ajali zinatokea. Sijui uko na swali, ume witness accident na ukakuwa tuna kaswali ungependa kutuuliza leo?
Swali yenye mimi nilikuwa napenda kuuliza. Ni unaweza pata labda mtu amegongwa na hiyo gari imekimbia hivyo hit and run. Sasa ukipata mtu kama huyo ukijaribu kumsaidia, unajua ukipatikana hapo na yeye itachukuliwa ni kama wewe ndio umemgonga. Sasa incident kama hiyo inafaa kufanya aje tukiwa barabarani? Ukipata mtu amegongwa na gari yenye imemgonga haiko hapo, inafaa kusaidia aje mtu kama huyo?
Sawa. Asante sana Francis, salimia watu wa Kangundo Road huko.
Sawa, asante.
Haya. Umwache hapo ama umsaidie?
Hapana. Tafadhali naelewa situation ambayo Francis anasema. Number 1, itaku encourage hivi. Wakati wote unapopata mtu ambaye ameumia kwa barabara, ni vizuri uitishe usaidizi. Nitakudiscourage usizoe kupeana usaidizi wa kwanza ukiwa peke yako. Number 1 ni kama cases kama hizo. Number 2, mgonjwa inaweza fika hali fulani yenye hauwezi mshughulikia peke yako, inabidi upate usaidizi. So jaribu iwezekanavyo popote pale unapojipata na mgonjwa, piga nduru, ita kama unaweza piga simu, unaweza piga nduru, help, somebody help me, I need help here. Watu watajitokozea kuja kusaidia. And with people coming in, hiyo ni an area that a good ground inaweza kusaidia kwa situations kama hizo. Number 2, ni vizuri kama first aider, every time unapeana huduma ya kwanza, take record of everything that happened. Kama inawezekana ukiwa na kitabu na kalamu pahali, unaweza andika everything venye ulikuja ukapata situation kenye ulifanya. Na ni vizuri pia situation kama hiyo lazima before ushike chochote lazima upige wapi? Polisi simu. Ama unaweza piga ambulance, waambie nimefika place fulani na nimepata kuna mgonjwa anakaa hivi na ako peke yake na ni kama amegongwa. Na mimi ni msaidizi wa kwanza, nataka kumsaidia.
You're advising us kifika if you're alone, write down. So but then essentially tunanga mtu anakuja na anatoa simu, anarekodi yote, anatumia vloggers ndio pia pate numbers. Will that be how important is that? Mimi nikikuja ni record.
It is very unethical from my point of view. It is not good to do so. This person's life is at danger and you're taking advantage of their situation for your own good. It's not fair at all, even in a human and a moral perspective.
Okay.
So basically speaking, the only thing you can do with your phone is when you're getting emergency help. Call the police, call the ambulance, they will be there.
All right.
That is a good backup for you.
All right. So now before Franco kutoka Kangundo arudi atupigie simu, so you're explaining to us the whole bit of the fractures and I brought in the whole hypothetical of, so what about if something had had crushed on top of her leg?
No, very good. An important point to remember, as we began earlier, we say the first step is assess. The second step is make the area safe. Now the third step is giving emergency aid.
Okay.
And I mentioned there are factors that you need to mention to focus on. Number 1, I said you can get an MCI, mass casualty incident, where you have several casualties. And there I said prioritize the need based on how dangerous is the injury to their heart, to their health, to their life.
Okay.
Then number 2, it's important to keep in mind, you may find in an accident you will find trapped victims.
Okay.
Now, in a crash incident, now that's like a crash where something heavy is on the casualty. I'll advise, if you reach to the casualty within the 15 minutes since the crash happened, then you are able to do what? To lift. But if you arrive at the scene and the crash has happened past 15 minutes, do not attempt to remove that object.
But how will
on
you
the
know?
Casualty.
How will you know 15 minutes has elapsed?
Scene assessment. People that are there, you will ask them what happened, when did it happen, you get such information. If the casualty is responsive, you can ask such information. You can look at the environment and try to relate when could this have happened. So if it's beyond 15 minutes, do not remove. Another important thing I'd like to advise is also this. Most crash situations, it's best if we allow the firefighters to come in and deal with it best, rather than ourselves dealing with lifting such objects. So if it's something heavy, it's a casualty stuck in a wreck, we may require the firemen to come in to help in such a situation.
Right.
And that is why it's also important. Every time you arrive at the scene, a road traffic accident, you have assessed, call for help, let the emergency teams be coming as you make the area safe and as you attend to the casualty, so that they can sort out such situations.
Now speaking of attending to the casualty, so we established that she probably has a fracture on the right leg. So show us practically how, without any first aid kits around you, how better you can solve that.
Now, number one is find a piece of clean cloth. So in this case, I want you to assume that this is my piece of clean cloth. It's just a piece of clean cloth. It's not part of my first aid kit.
Okay. So,
now,
so kwa gari nilikuwa let's say na scarf.
Ulikuwa na scarf. Yes, ulikuwa na handkerchief. Bora iko safi. The next thing, make a donut ring out of that piece of cloth.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember how to make it. We did it last time. So you make a donut ring. So it's something that you can easily weave. A donut ring is not something new for most Kenyans. In the community where I come from, we make this to carry water on pots of water on our heads. Yeah. So you just make something like that.
Oh, ni kama hiyo.
Yes. But now a smaller one. Don't make a bigger one. All right. So you make a good donut ring. Once the donut ring is ready, so this is my donut ring, right? Now, this is where the fracture has happened. I'm going to put this donut ring right over the fracture, like that. The next thing, find another piece of clean cloth again. Another piece of clean cloth. Assume this is another piece of clean cloth.
Okay.
And then make a very simple strip out of that clean cloth, like a bandage.
So now, even as you continue, because this is a hypothetical of, umepata hii ajali hapo.
Yes.
And it's in an accident, in a road accident.
Yes.
You don't really have an access of something clean.
Yes.
You actually won't know if it's clean.
Yes.
Ndio atakupatia shika hii scarf yangu, ni safi, niliosha asubuhi. But you're not really sure if it's clean.
All right.
How can you maybe use something to sanitize it probably?
All right, that's a good question. Now, obvious signs of something that is clean. If you're given a piece of cloth and it has mud on it, it's not clean. If it has stains on it, it's not clean. But if I can take your shirt, definitely it's clean. I can use it. I don't know if I'm making the sense.
Okay.
Yes, so that is the basic thing. Yeah. So I understand out in the road you may not be able to find something perfectly clean, but try to find something that, doesn't have...
But then essentially, I'd assume that this, let's say the shirt or maybe even my tie is clean. But then when it comes to germs and everything, it might not be 100% clean. So is there something that you can use to maybe purify it, for example?
All right. Now, the reason that's why I'm withholding the aspect of purification is this. Probably, I don't know if it's in your mind that you're ringing about aspects to do with methylated spirits and so on.
Yeah,
no. Now listen.
It's one thing, because it's one thing that a lot of Kenyans would probably do. Ataona ni ajali imefanyika. Let spirit mwage umwagelee kwa nguo ikuwe safi and all that.
Hapana. Now, if spirits are discouraged completely to use them on wounds. Actually, at St. John Ambulance, we are actually adhering to one of the most latest international standards. We no longer use methylated spirit for first aid.
Okay.
Iodine solution, hydrogen peroxide, do not use them on wounds. Even applying them on this and then, no, it is not safer. Now, the idea you're trying to come up with is also what we call sterilized. Honestly speaking, we cannot sterilize in such situations like that. And that's why I'm saying just go with anything that is clean.
Okay.
You don't have to sterilize them. That is the thing.
So you may continue.
All right. Now, the next thing, I'm going to secure my donut ring on the wound. Be careful. If the bone is a bit taller, don't cover over the top of the bone.
Okay.
The next thing, when you are going to cover this, make sure you use the natural hollows of the body. Like at the knee, there is a specific hole. And then at the ankle, there is also. So this avoids, we said we do not move the casualty at any point.
Okay.
So I'm going to maximize with the natural hollows of the body. Mark you, this cloth should not be there. It should have been removed. When we are doing the assessment, we should expose.
Yes, because that was my next question.
Yes, we cannot. You do not handle the fracture with cloth on.
Okay.
So one of the first things is after the ABCs, the next thing, expose the wound, remove the cloth, then quickly assess to see if there is any other injury, then make a donut ring, and we are going to secure our donut ring on our casualty.
Okay.
So I'm going to use the natural hollows to secure this. Be careful not to cause further injury or even move the leg further.
How tight should it be?
Not too tight. It should be firm, but not tight. So basically speaking, firmness enough to apply pressure on the sides of the bone to reduce on the bleeding. But if it's tight, it will impair blood flow. And this may lead to amputation. So it shouldn't be tight, it should be firm. Firm enough to apply pressure on the sides of the bone, not on top of the bone. On the sides of the bone to control bleeding.
All right.
Once you have done the donut ring, the next step is we are going to immobilize this leg. We are going to try as much as possible to limit movement. Now this is an improvise. These are pieces of papers.
Okay.
I put together to create something strong. Thereafter, I need to make it softer for the casualty's body when I place it so that it doesn't rub on the bodies of the casualty.
So
you can use...
okay, yeah. So what can you really use in a span of less than 5 minutes to try and improvise?
You can use wood, sticks, whichever that you can get.
Okay.
These are some of the things that you can be able... You can't fail to get a stick by the roadside. You can't fail to get, this is mbao.
Yeah.
And
you have to wrap it like
yes,
you've done?
It's important to wrap it because most of these sticks are rough on the surface.
Yeah.
So if you put it on the skin of the casualty, they might end up abrasing the casualty. This will cause discomfort, more pain, and you're not helping the situation.
All right.
So basically speaking, you have to wrap it to be softer for the casualty. Besides this, if these are not available, don't we have cots? Don't we have Masai shukas?
Okay.
Simple things like that, like this can act like a Masai shuka, and you can fold it properly and use it in such a situation. So how do you use it? Things that are easily available in coats, Masai shukas, lassos, you can get them on the roadside. So what you just do is properly fold them, something like that. It's good to go.
Okay.
You use it.
Right.
Or you make these are pieces of paper, or you use
wood.
bow, yes. Right. If it's this one, you place both like this.
Oh, it has to be on both
sides.
Okay.
If it's lasso or Masai shuka, you just use one at the center.
All right.
All right? So I'm going to use the lasso one, or the shuka one, the Masai shuka.
So what's the purpose of all this?
All this, the essence is to keep this leg aligned and to keep it immobilized. It can't move. You know the way the other person was saying aligongwa na pikipiki then mwili, that is very dangerous. So the leg is not supposed to. The leg is supposed to remain, if this is the hand, it's supposed to remain straight like that, aligned like that. So that is the essence of these splints. They are called splints. Sawa sawa.
Right.
Yes. Now, for me to put these splints, I will also require other extra pieces of cloth. Pieces of cloth are very necessary when it comes to first aid, actually. So I'm going to use some more pieces of cloth to do this work. So here, I'm going to tie specific areas of the body. And this is very important. Also, you get a grasp of these areas. So, number one, these pieces of cloth should be broad enough like this.
Okay.
If you take a slim piece of cloth, when you tie the casualty, you see, when something that is slim ends up having a what? It applies some negative pressure, and there's a feeling of you being, abreast or friction or something like the sort. Yeah. Yes. So make a broad like this one. Now, gently, this is a good leg, so it's not a big deal if you move it. But this one that is injured, be gentle with it. Use the natural hollows.
Okay.
The first place you're going to position this is under the wound, under the fracture. It's important. The second place you're going to position.
So for this, we're using the wood.
Yes.
Right. So can I help you?
Sure, please go ahead. I need help.
Unaweza nisaidia na moja hapo?
So we first make this.
Oh, okay.
So make another broad fold.
Okay. Unasema broad.
Yes, a broad one.
So iko sawa sawa?
Yes. Make another broad one. So you're going to use the natural hollows. Now it's you to insert the next one.
Kusukuma box na huko nyuma kidogo.
All right.
Perfect. So basically for this
it's the same.
Speed, how should someone's speed be?
You need to be fast enough, if possible. I want you to insert it through the natural hollow.
Yeah.
Very good. Comes this way. Now, these are the 3 specific areas that are mandatory for you to able to secure a good. So, at the ankle is a must, at the knees is a must. Then you can have one right below the fracture. The next thing is now we can do the splint, this one, or we can do the blanket.
Okay.
So this one you must have 2 of them. That's why I'm just using the blanket. All right? So the blanket, you will place it at the center like that, towards the leg that is injured. Then realize with her leg, there's some space here. So I need this leg to be as straight as possible. So I'm going to find something else like a padding and place here to ensure that the leg remains straight.
Okay.
Then this good leg, I can easily move like that. The next thing I'm going to secure. So when you secure, the first place to start with securing is at the ankle of the injured leg, here. And then gently pull the good leg towards the bad leg, make a figure of 8, like that. And then you secure here. So that is the first place.
Okay.
In the meantime, now you can secure. The next place to secure is the knees. Now when you secure the knee, you tie the knot.
So for this one?
No, this one is the last one.
Okay.
This is the second part.
So this is the second one.
When you secure it, you secure towards the uninjured leg.
To this side.
The knot comes to this side.
So this one, tuone kama nita kneel down. The one.
All right. To this side. So you can gently pull it.
Oh, right. Yes. So gently pull that.
And secure it. Perfect. Yes, you make a reef knot. A reef knot is the best. That is a reef knot.
Okay.
Good. Nice. Oh, this is a butterfly. That's okay. Sometimes, because of the pressure that the knot can place on the skin of the casualty, you may use something else again to pad so that the pressure doesn't. Yes, if you have enough resources.
Okay.
Then lastly, we tie this to this side. And that is how you manage a simple fracture on the rod. Now this is good. We can now wait for the ambulance to come. Or we can transport if need be. Sometimes you can be in the village where there's no possibility of an ambulance accessing us. Now we can be able to transport. Also remember, this casualty will go into shock. It's always important to cover them with a blanket.
Right.
Yes.
So when you started, you told us the omega.
Yes, omega.
So we've done with the E.
The E, emergency aid.
So emergency aid.
There's one more thing I need to mention about emergency aid. In a road traffic accident, after handling the casualties that you can see, always search around. Some are thrown off, some come out of the accident disoriented, they may wander off. So those are some of the things that you need to keep in mind.
Right.
Yes.
So that's the E.
Yes.
So a meg. So
G.
G
is to get help.
Oh, get help.
Now in getting help, I'll tell you this. Depending on your scene assessment, you will determine whether G comes as the fourth or becomes as a first. But with traffic accidents that advise us, let G become one of the first. When you're assessing in a road traffic accident, get help. Who are you getting help from? Number one, call the emergency services. People that you can never miss to call in a traffic accident: police, ambulance, fire brigade. So, those are the constant.
So for example, in our case, we started and then tulisha piga simu
wanakuja
kaambia St. John ambulance. Nikapata mtu anaitwa Matara kuja unisaidie.
Yes.
Na ndio naona wanaingia saa hii sasa. Matara akakuja na aid wake. Ndio kuja watusaidie sasa kubeba
mgonjwa.
Grace. So we've done G.
Yes.
So the last one before tuone venye tutasaidia kubeba Grace.
Now the last one is aftermath. The aftermath is dependent. Number one, if you are the person that was involved in the accident, you may have to contact your insurance. You know, if you used your first aid kit, supposing you had a first aid kit, you need to restock your first aid kit. Some situations can be very traumatizing. It's important you go seek counseling. I don't know if I'm communicating. Those are situations.
Wacha tuende Bungoma ndio sasa tubebe mgonjwa Hassan, anaitwa Hassan, habari ya Bungoma?
Nzuri sana.
Ramadhani inaendelea jamaa?
Ramadhani iko swafi.
Haya, tunashukuru pia sisi. Asante kwa kutupigia. Uko na swali ama maoni?
Na swali. Na maoni pia.
Yes. Yes, uliza tunakusikia.
Yes.
Endelea.
Ramadhani iko sawa, tunashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu.
Uko na swali?
Nilikuwa na swali na maoni, lakini wacha nitoe maoni yangu tu. Nafurahi sana mmeleta kipindi hiki kwa TV. Tunaelimika sana, manake hali kama hizi hutokea na watu wajui wafanye nini, waanzie wapi.
Kweli. Na
mmeleta mwanadada ambaye kidogo anaelewa haya masala vizuri. Na kila kitu. Unajua kuna time ya ajali huwa kuna mshtuko, watu wanapiga kelele, watu wanachanganyikiwa, watu wanaongeza labda mtu mwenye amepata ajali hata labda alikuwa yuko vibaya sana, anakuwa na mshtuko wa moyo. Lakini sasa unakuta mambo kama haya pia ya nini, kwa mfano mtu amepata fractures na nini, the way you handle hiyo situation, unaona tu mtu ako sawa. Na pia watu ukimbilia kumvuta, mara watu wamejaa hapo, wengine mtu atashika mguu, mtu atavuta wapi, tutapata unaongeza majeruhi kama tu alivyosema. Lakini kwa sisi watu wa mitaani huku, sijui kama inawezekana mtu awe na vifaa hivyo kwa wakati ili aweze kuhudumia huyo mtu ambaye amepata ajali, kwa sababu sisi huku kukimbia na motorbike, tumrushe kwa motorbike, tumpeleke hospitali. Alafu mambo yanakuwa mengine.
Sawa. Asante sana Hassan. Asante sana Hassan. Salimia sana watu wa Bungoma.
Nitawasalimia.
Yes, sawa. So sijui bwana director, sijui ni wrap it up, alafu tukimalizia sasa after nimefanya closing remarks tubebe mgonjwa hadi hospitali yetu hapa Cape Media Hospital hapa. So tufunge na let me do the closing remarks. Asanteni sana St. John Ambulance, asante sana Leila and Bwire and the team for the whole tips. Your last remarks.
Very well. This is a very crucial program, and I thank you for organizing it. It's important, Kenyans. Tuendeni darasani tusome first aid. It's a very critical skill. St. John Ambulance, we are available across the country. Please, wherever you are, reach out. I say our number?
Oh yes, please.
Please, 0721 225 285. Reach out at that number anywhere you are. If you want first aid classes, you can be able to do what? To get us through that number.
Okay.
If you want an ambulance, you can get us. We are also present in major highways. We have community first aid posts in all major roads in the country. So in case of any accidents, we can reach out to you. We also have a trauma clinic, 2 major trauma clinics in one of the two major highways in the country. Please, if you have any accidents, you can take your casualty there.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Asante sana also to you back at home for being with us all the way from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We do this every single Monday to Friday. This is Morning Cafe. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyaringita, on behalf of the entire team. Hapa hivi akina Jones, Jimu, Mary, Joy, na Ian hapa hivi, pale hivi kwa gallery, directors Kevo, super producer Mary, kwa graphics Naomi. Asanteni sana kwa sound Kevo. Nimeshukuru sana. Tubebe mgonjwa hadi Cape Media Hospital. Yani unaweza simama hiyo side. So tunabeba na
tutaweka hivi.
Okay. So unaweza kuna tuambia how you're doing it.
Tutapiga magoti.
Okay.
Tutafold blanketi kabisa. Haya, wa kwanza mkono hapo, mwingine ikuje hapa, hiyo ikuje hapa. Alafu ikuje kwa kichwa hapo, isaidie kushikilia kichwa, isupport kichwa, unaweza fold karibu kwa kichwa kabisa. Vizuri. Now tutakuwa on our mark, tutaweka our back straight in 2 3 1 up. Yes. Tukipeleka mgonjwa, mguu unatangulia.
Okay.
Kwanza, mguu utakanda juu.
Oh, right.
Unatangulia. Kichwa inakuwa nyuma.
Okay.
Alafu polepole tukienda, polepole. Like that. Keep the body straight. Put the casualty's body closer to your body. Yes, like that.
Hadi Cape Media Hospital.
Yeah, tumefika hospital.
Well, here guys.